The Corallian research ship Harmony's Song spun slowly in the cold darkness of space. Her beautiful crystal hull was cracked in 3 places, and bright blue atmosphere leaked out like blood from a wound. Inside the ship, Dr. Zethka pressed his long, pale fingers against the communication panel and tried not to panic. The Corallians were not built for war. They were tall and graceful, with skin so clear you could see the light flowing through their bodies. For thousands of years, they had studied the stars and made music from the sounds of distant planets. They had never hurt anyone. They did not even know how to build weapons. But now 12 massive warships surrounded them. The ships belonged to the hegemony, a group of species that took what they wanted and destroyed anyone who stood in their way. The largest ship was black as night, with red lights glowing along its sides like angry eyes. Corallian vessel, a harsh voice crackled through the radio. This is Admiral Vasquez of the Hegemony Fleet. You have 1 hour to give us your research. Data. If you refuse, we will turn your ship into dust. Dr. Zethka looked around the bridge at his fellow scientists. They were all afraid. Their research had discovered ancient ruins on a dead planet. The ruins proved that the hegemony had lied about owning that part of space. The planet belonged to another species that had lived there long ago. If the Galactic Council learned the truth, the hegemony would lose control of dozens of star systems. "What do we do?" whispered Dr. Linza, the ship's navigator. Her voice shook like a leaf in the wind. "We cannot give them the data," Zethka said. "Too many innocent people will suffer if the hegemony keeps those planets. But if we do not give it to them, they will kill us all," said Dr. Morta, the youngest member of their team. Zethka closed his eyes and thought. The Corallians believed that all life was precious. They could not let the hegemony hurt more innocent people, even if it meant their own death. But maybe there was another way. "I will send a distress call," he decided. "Perhaps someone will help us." The other scientists looked at him with hope and fear. Everyone knew that most species were too afraid of the hegemony to help anyone. The hegemony was strong and cruel. They had destroyed entire planets just to make a point. Zethka began typing. The message. His fingers moved quickly over the crystal controls. "This is the Corallian research vessel Harmony's Song. We are under attack by hegemony forces in the Vega sector. We carry important data that proves hegemony territorial claims are false. We need immediate assistance. Please help us." He sent the message out on all frequencies, broadcasting it to every corner of the galaxy. Then they waited. Minutes passed. The hegemony ships moved closer, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Zethka watched the scanner as responses began. "To come in. Cannot assist. Hegemony space. Too dangerous. Sorry, our fleet is too far away. Suggest you surrender. Nothing we can do." Each message was the same. Every species was too afraid or too far away to help. Zethka felt his heart sink. They were alone. 30 minutes remaining. Admiral Vasquez's voice hissed through the radio. "Have you made your decision, Corallians?" Zethka was about to respond when a new message appeared on his screen. It was different from the others, short and simple. Message received. Ada 12 minutes. Hold position. The message came from human space, far on the edge of the galaxy. Zethka frowned. He had heard stories about humans. They were a young species that had only joined the galactic community recently. Most people said they were primitive and violent. They fought wars against each other and had strange ideas about honor and duty. "Who are the humans?" asked Dr. Linza. "I am not sure," Zethka replied. "They are new to space travel. Some say they are dangerous. More dangerous than the hegemony?" "Before." Zethka could answer. Admiral Vasquez's voice filled the bridge again. "We have detected your distress signal, Corallians. No one is coming to save you. The galaxy has abandoned you, just as it should. Weak species like yours do not deserve to exist among the stars. The Admiral's laughter was cold and cruel. 20 minutes remain. Then we will show you what happens to those who defy the hegemony. Dr. Morta began to cry. The sound was like crystal bells breaking. We are going to die, she whispered. Zeth-K looked at the scanner again. A single dot appeared at the edge of sensor range, moving fast toward their position. Too fast for any ship he knew about. Something is coming, he said. The dot grew larger. According to the scanner, it was much smaller than the hegemony ships, but it was moving like nothing he had ever seen. It twisted and turned through space like a living thing, dodging asteroids and debris with impossible grace. What kind of ship moves like that? Dr. Lindsay asked. Admiral Vasquez must have seen it too. His voice came over the radio, angry and confused. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. You are entering hegemony space without permission. The response came immediately, in a voice that was calm but somehow frightening. It belonged to a female human. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earthship Retribution. You are targeting a civilian research vessel. Stand down immediately. Silence filled space for a moment. Then Admiral Vasquez began to laugh again, but this time it sounded forced. One human ship against 12 hegemony dreadnoughts. You mammals never learn to count properly. Captain Chun's reply sent chills down Zethka's spine. Her voice was quiet, like ice forming on a lake. I count one civilian vessel under threat. That's all the math I need. The human ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in front of the Harmony song. It was angular and gray, covered with weapons that Zethka did not recognize. Strange symbols were painted on its hull in bright red letters. Corallian vessel. Captain Chun's voice came through the radio, now speaking directly to them. This is the Retribution. We received your distress call. Stay close to us and prepare for combat. Dr. Zethka stared at the human ship. It was much smaller than any of the hegemony vessels, and it was alone against 12 warships. The humans had come anyway. They had crossed half the galaxy to help complete strangers, even though they would probably die trying. Why? He whispered to himself. Why would they do this? As if she had heard him, Captain Chun spoke again. Her words would stay with Zethka for the rest of his life, because you called for help. And where we come from, that's all the reason we need. The human ship Retribution hung in space like a metal predator. Dr. Zethka had never seen anything like it. Where Corallian ships were smooth and flowing like water, the human vessel was all sharp angles and hard edges. Weapons stuck out from its hull like thorns on a deadly plant. Captain Sarah Chin's voice cut through the silence. Admiral Vasquez, I'm giving you one chance. Withdraw your forces immediately and return to hegemony space. This is your only warning. Admiral Vasquez. Laughter filled the radio waves. You think one small ship can fight 12 dreadnoughts? Humans truly are as stupid as we heard. Maybe, Chun replied. But we're about to find out. Suddenly, the Retribution began broadcasting something that made everyone stop and stare at their screens. Data flowed across every communication channel in the sector. Dr. Zethka gasped as he read the information. It was everything. Secret hegemony documents, records of illegal planet seizures, proof of war crimes, evidence of species being wiped out for their resources. The humans had been collecting this information for months, maybe years. How did they get all this? Whispered Dr. Linsa. Captain Chun's voice answered as if she had heard the question. We've been watching you, Admiral. Every illegal territory grab, every innocent species you've destroyed, every lie you've told the Galactic Council. It's all here, and it's all being broadcast to every civilized world in the galaxy. Admiral Vasquez's voice turned from amused to furious. You dare spy on the hegemony? You will pay for this insult with your miserable lives. Here's how this works, Chun continued, her voice still calm. You have two choices. Option 1. Withdraw now and face trial at the Galactic Council. You might live through it. Option 2. Find out why humans are the one species in this galaxy. You really don't want to make angry. Dr. Zethka watched the scanner as the hegemony ships began to move. They were not retreating. Instead, they spread out in attack formation, surrounding both the human ship and the Harmony song. Your choice. Admiral, Chun said. I choose to watch you burn, Vosket snarled. All ships, open fire. Show these mammals what real power looks like. The space around them exploded with light. 12 massive hegemony ships fired at once, their energy beams bright enough to blind anyone looking directly at them. Dr. Zethke was sure the human ship would be destroyed instantly, but the retribution was no longer where it had been. The human ship moved like nothing Zethka had ever seen. It twisted and spun through space, dodging energy beams that should have been impossible to avoid. Its engines left trails of blue fire as it danced between the attacks. How are they doing that? Dr. Morta gasped. The retribution fired back. And Zethka understood why humans were feared. Their weapons were different from anything else in the galaxy. Instead of clean energy beams, they fired solid metal projectiles that moved faster than light. The rounds punched through hegemony shields like they were made of paper. One of the smaller hegemony ships exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Then, another. Impossible! Admiral Vosket screamed. Focus all fire on the human ship. The remaining hegemony vessels turned their attention to the retribution. The human ship was fast, but it could not dodge everything. Energy beams struck its hull, tearing holes in the metal armor. Fires began to burn inside the ship. Dr. Zethka watched in horror as the brave humans who had come to save them began to die. He could see explosions inside the retribution through the holes in its hull. But the ship kept fighting. Captain Chun's voice came through the radio again. This time she sounded tired and in pain. Ares damage report. A new voice answered, cold and mechanical. It was the ship's computer. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. Main engine offline. Weapons at 60%. Casualties are heavy, Captain. Can we still fight? Affirmative, but not for long. Dr. Zethka made a decision that surprised even himself. He turned to Dr. Linsa. Can our sensors help them target their weapons? What do you mean? Our scanners are the best in the galaxy. We can see things. Their sensors cannot. We can help them hit their targets. Dr. Linsa stared at him. But we are pacifists. We do not fight. We are not fighting, Zethka said. We are helping those who fight for us. He opened a communication channel to the human ship. Captain Chun, this is Dr. Zethka. Our sensors can guide your weapons. We want to help. There was silence for a moment. Then Chun's voice came back, and it sounded almost like she was smiling. I thought your species didn't believe in violence. We do not, Zethka replied. But we believe in helping those who protect others. Copy that, Doctor. Ares, link with their sensors. The Corallian and human ships connected their computer systems. Suddenly, the Retribution's weapons became deadly accurate. Guided by Corallian sensors that could see through shields and armor, human weapons found the weak points in every hegemony ship. Another enemy vessel exploded. Then another. Admiral Vosket was screaming orders, but his ships were falling apart around him. The combination of human weapons and Corallian sensors was something the hegemony had never faced before. All ships, retreat. Vosket finally ordered, fall back to the outer system. But Captain Chun was not finished. Ares, target the Admiral's ship. Let's end this. The Retribution turned toward the largest hegemony vessel. Its weapons charged for one final attack. But as it moved, 3 enemy ships that had been playing dead suddenly powered up and fired at once. The energy beam struck the Retribution directly. The human ship shuddered and began to drift. Half its lights went out, and atmosphere poured from dozens of new holes. "Captain," Dr. Zefka called out. "Are you alive?" Chun's voice came back weak and crackling. "Still here, Doctor. But we're in bad shape." The remaining hegemony ships began to close in for the kill. Admiral Vosket's voice filled the radio with cool satisfaction. "Did you really think you could defeat the hegemony with one ship? You humans are brave, I will give you that. But bravery without wisdom is just stupidity." Dr. Zethke felt despair wash over him. The humans had come so far to help them. They had fought so hard, and now they were going to die. But then Captain Chun spoke again, and her voice was different. It was quiet and calm, but there was something in it that made Zethke's skin crawl. It was the voice of someone who had decided to stop holding back. "Ares," she said. "Initiate Berserker Protocol. Authorization. Chun Alpha 77. The computer's voice came back immediately. "Captain, Berserker Protocol will destroy the ship. Are you certain?" "Do it." Suddenly, the retribution began to change. Emergency lights bathed the hull in red. New weapon ports opened along its sides. The ship's engines roared back to life, burning brighter than before. "What is happening?" Dr. Linsa asked. Dr. Zethka stared at the scanner readings. The human ship was tearing itself apart from the inside, redirecting all its power to weapons and engines. It was turning itself into a bomb. "They are going to sacrifice their ship to save us," he whispered. Admiral Vosket must have realized it too. "All ships, destroy that vessel now. Before it can," but he was too late. The retribution screamed forward like a missile, its weapons firing faster than physics should have allowed. And Dr. Zethka realized something that would change his understanding of humans forever. They were not just brave. When someone they protected was in danger, they became something else entirely. They became demons of war, willing to die to keep others safe. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you made humans angry. The retribution became something from nightmares. Red emergency lights painted her hull like blood. New weapons burst through her armor, growing like metal bones. Her engines burned so bright, they turned the darkness around her into day. Dr. Zethke watched his scanner with growing horror and amazement. The human ship was destroying itself from the inside, but somehow becoming more dangerous. Power readings climbed beyond anything his instruments could measure. "What have they done to their ship?" Dr. Morta whispered, before anyone could answer. The retribution attacked. She moved faster than before, faster than any ship her size should move. Her weapons fired without stopping, sending streams of metal death at the Devani fleet. But these were not the same weapons as before. These were bigger, louder, angrier. The first hegemony ship to get hit simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was expanding cloud of gas and metal pieces. Admiral Vosket's voice crackled over the radio, no longer confident. "What is this? What kind of weapons are those?" Captain Chun answered, and her voice was like winter wind. "The kind we save for special occasions. The kind we use when someone threatens innocent people." The retribution spun through space like a dancer of death. Every movement was perfect. Every shot found its target. The human ship was falling apart, but she kept fighting. Pieces of her hull drifted away, trailing fire and sparks. Atmosphere leaked from dozens of holes. But still she fought. A second hegemony ship exploded. Then a third. Dr. Zethka realized something incredible. The human ship was not just fighting harder, she was fighting smarter. Every attack was planned. Every movement had purpose. The humans were turning their own destruction into a weapon. "They are using their dying ship as a tool," he said in wonder. "They are making every piece count." The Corallian sensors were still linked to the human ship. Through them, Zethka could see what the human computer called Ares was doing. It was calculating thousands of things every second. Where to shoot, how to move, which parts of the ship to sacrifice next. But there was something else. Something that made Zethka's skin grow cold. The computer was not just following orders. It was angry. The machine had learned to hate from its human creators that another hegemony ship tried to run. The Retribution chased it down and tore it apart with weapons that should not exist. The human ship was moving so fast now that she left trails of light behind her. This is impossible. Admiral Vasquette screamed, "Retreat! All ships retreat!" But the humans were not letting anyone escape. Captain Chun's voice filled the radio waves. You wanted to hurt innocent people. You wanted to destroy a research ship full of scientists. Now you get to see what happens when you make that choice. The Retribution caught another fleeing ship and destroyed it with a single shot. The explosion lit up the whole sector. Dr. Zethka watched 5 more hegemony ships die in the next few minutes. The humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. They were not just soldiers. They were something older and more dangerous. They were protectors who had been pushed too far. But the human ship was dying. Large pieces of her hull were gone now. Fires burned in her engine rooms. Her weapons were starting to fail one by one. Even through his amazement, Zethka could see that the Retribution could not last much longer. Admiral Vasquette must have seen it too. His voice came back, trying to sound brave again. Your ship is finished, human. You have fought well, but you cannot win. Surrender now, and we will make your death quick. Captain Chun's answer was a laugh. It was not a happy sound. You still don't understand, do you? We're not trying to win. We're trying to make sure you lose. The Retribution suddenly changed course. Instead of chasing the remaining hegemony ships, she turned toward Admiral Vasquette's flagship. The massive black ship tried to turn away, but it was too slow. What are you doing? Vasquette demanded. Something my species is very good at, Chun replied, solving problems the hard way. Dr. Zethka realized what was about to happen. No, he whispered. They cannot, but they could. And they did. The Retribution ran straight into the side of the hegemony flagship. The crash was so loud it could be heard through the hulls of both ships. Metal screamed against metal. Both vessels spun away from each other, locked together. And dying. The Admiral's ship was huge, but the human vessel had hit it right in the command section. Explosions rippled along the flagship's hull. Its lights went out one by one. Through the radio came the sound of Admiral Vasquette coughing and cursing. You mad creatures, you have killed us both. Captain Chun's voice was weak now, but still steady. That was the idea. Dr. Zethka stared at the 2 dying ships. Both were finished. The Retribution had torn herself apart to destroy the enemy flagship. Debris from both vessels drifted through space like snow, but the sacrifice was working. The remaining hegemony ships were running. Without their admiral and his flagship, they had no heart for the fight. They jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared, leaving their dead behind. Captain Chun's voice crackled through the radio one more time. Corellian vessel, this is the Retribution. We've bought you some time, but not much. More hegemony ships will come. You need to get out of here. What about you? Dr. Zethke asked. We're finished. Our reactor is failing. Maybe 10 minutes before. It goes critical. Take your data and go. Make sure the galaxy knows the truth about the hegemony. Dr. Zethka made another decision that would change his life. No, we will not leave you to die. Doctor, there's no point in both ships being destroyed. There is if we can save your crew. Zethka turned to his fellow scientists. Dr. Linsa, bring us alongside the human ship. Dr. Morta, prepare the medical bay for wounded. We are taking on survivors, but they are strangers, Dr. Morta said. We barely know them. They came when we called for help, Zethka replied. Now we help them. The Harmony's song moved carefully toward the broken human vessel. Through the holes in her hull, they could see humans moving around inside. Some were helping wounded crew members. Others were setting charges to destroy important equipment so the hegemony could not use it. Even while their ship was dying, even while they were hurt and bleeding, the humans were thinking about others. They were making sure no secrets would fall into enemy hands. Captain Chen appeared at one of the holes in her ship's hull. She was wearing a spacesuit, and Dr. Zethka could see blood on her helmet, but she was alive. "Doctor," she said over the radio, "my people are ready to transfer. But I need you to understand something. When our reactor explodes, it's going to be big, really big. You need to be far away when it happens." "How far?" "At least 1,000,000 kilometers, maybe more." Dr. Zethka looked at his instruments. They could save maybe half the human crew before they had to run, maybe less. "We will save who we can," he said. "Thank you," Captain Chen replied. And in those 2 words, Dr. Zethka heard something he would never forget. It was the gratitude of a warrior who had fought her last battle, spoken. To the people she had died to protect, the rescue began. One by one, humans floated across the space between the ships. Each one that made it was a small victory. Each one left behind was a tragedy. Time was running out. The Retribution's reactor was getting more unstable by the minute. Soon they would have to choose between saving more humans and saving themselves. Dr. Zethka looked at Captain Chen, still standing in the wreckage of her ship, making sure her crew got out first. He understood now why the humans had answered their distress call. He understood why they had come alone against impossible odds. Some species were born to build. Some were born to learn. Some were born to create beautiful things. Humans were born to protect others, even if it killed them. Captain Sarah Chun was the last person to leave the Retribution. Dr. Zethka watched her float across the space between the ships, moving slowly because of her injuries. Blood covered half her face, and her left arm hung useless at her side. But she was alive. The moment she was safely aboard the Harmony song, Dr. Lindsay fired the engines. The Corallian ship raced away from the dying human vessel as fast as she could go. Behind them, the Retribution grew smaller and smaller, her hull glowing red-hot from the failing reactor inside. "How much time do we have?" Dr. Zethka asked. Captain Chun tried to sit up on the medical table where the Corallian doctors were treating her wounds. "Maybe 3 minutes. Maybe less." ARES was trying to keep the reactor stable, but without power to the cooling systems. She did not need to finish. Everyone understood. The explosion would be massive. Dr. Zethka looked around the medical bay. 43 humans had made it to safety. He knew there had been more than 200 crew members on the Retribution. The rest had died fighting to protect people they had never met. "I am sorry we could not save more of your people," he said quietly. Captain Chen looked at him with eyes that were tired but not defeated. "You saved who you could. That's all anyone can ask for, but so many died. They died doing what they chose to do," Chun said. "They died protecting others. For humans, there is no better way to go." Dr. Zethka did not understand this at first. The Corallians valued all life equally. The idea that some deaths were better than others seemed wrong to him. But as he looked at the human survivors, he began to see something new. The humans were sad about their lost friends. Some were crying. Others sat in silence, staring at nothing. But none of them looked like they regretted their choice. They had come to save strangers, and they would do it again tomorrow if needed. "Why?" Zethka asked. "Why did you come for us? You did not know us. We had nothing to offer you." Captain Chun smiled, and it was a sad but genuine expression. "You called for help. That's all we needed to know. But your species barely knows us. We are not allies. We are not friends. We are just strangers who sent a radio message." Doctor, Chun said, and her voice was patient, like a teacher explaining something important. Let me tell you a story about humans. Long ago, when we were still trapped on our home planet, we had a saying. It went like this: no one is truly alone as long as someone else is willing to help. She winced as the Corallian doctor worked on her wounded arm, but continued talking. For thousands of years, we fought wars against each other. We were cruel and selfish and stupid. But we learned something from all that fighting. We learned that the universe is a cold, dark place. The only warmth in it comes from the connections we make with others. Dr. Zethka listened carefully. This was not what he expected to hear from a species known for violence. When we finally reached the stars, Chun continued, we found a galaxy full of different species. Some were friendly, some were hostile. Most just ignored each other, but we also found something else. We found species like yours, who study and explore and try to make things better. And we found species like the hegemony, who take what they want and hurt anyone who gets in their way. So you chose sides. We chose to protect the ones who cannot protect themselves. We chose to answer when someone calls for help. Not because we expect anything in return, but because it's the right thing to do. Dr. Zethka thought about this. But you could have ignored our message like everyone else did. You could have stayed safe in your own space. Captain Chun's smile grew wider. Doctor, you don't understand humans very well yet. We're not built to stay safe. We're built to make sure others can stay safe. Before Zethka could ask what she meant, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Dr. Linsaw's voice came over the communication system. Everyone hold on. The human ship is about to explode. Through the medical bay's window, they could see the retribution in the distance. She was just a tiny dot of light now, but that dot was getting brighter and brighter and brighter. Then she exploded. The blast was like a new star being born. Light filled space for millions of kilometers in every direction. The Harmony song shook and rattled as the shock wave hit them, even from their safe distance. Emergency lights flickered throughout the ship. When the light finally faded, there was nothing left where the retribution had been. Just empty space and scattered debris. Dr. Zethka stared at the spot where the brave human ship had died. 43 people in this room were alive because of that sacrifice. But more than 150 humans had given their lives to save strangers. They were heroes, he said quietly. They were soldiers, Captain Chun corrected him. Heroes are people who do brave things once. Soldiers are people who do brave things every day because someone has to. Dr. Morta, who had been quiet during the rescue, finally spoke up. Captain Chun, I do not understand your species. You are capable of such terrible violence. We saw what your ship did to the hegemony fleet. But you also risk everything to help people you do not know. How can you be both things at once? Captain Chun was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her words would stay with Dr. Zethka for the rest of his life. Dr. Morta, the universe is full of predators. Species that take what they want and destroy what they cannot use. For most of history, the innocent had no choice but to hide or run or die. She looked around the room at her surviving crew members. But sometimes, very rarely, evolution produces something different. A species that is just as good at violence as the predators, but that chooses to use that violence to protect instead of to take. And that is what humans are. That's what we try to be. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We sometimes fight each other. But when we see innocent people in danger, when we hear someone calling for help, we cannot ignore it. It's not in our nature. Dr. Zethka began to understand. You carry the darkness so others do not have to. That's a nice way to put it, Chun said. We're violent because the universe requires violence sometimes. But we're violent in defense of those who cannot defend themselves. The ship's communication system crackled to life. Dr. Linsaw's voice filled the medical bay. Captain Chun, Dr. Zethka, you need to see this. We're receiving messages from all over the galaxy. They made their way to the bridge, where Dr. Lindsay was staring at her instruments in amazement. The data we broadcast about the hegemony has reached dozens of worlds. Everyone is talking about it. But they're also talking about something else. What? You, Captain, your ship, the battle. Someone recorded everything and sent it to the galactic news networks. The whole galaxy just watched a single human ship fight 12 hegemony dreadnoughts to save a civilian research vessel. Captain. Chun frowned. That's not good. We don't like publicity. Why not? Dr. Zethka asked. Because now everyone will know what we've been doing, and some species won't like it. Dr. Lindsay looked up from her console. Captain, there's more. We're receiving reports from across human space. Other species are coming forward. They're saying humans have helped them too. Rescued ships, stopped wars, protected colonies. How long has this been going on? Captain Chun sighed. About 50 years, since we first reached the stars. Dr. Zethka stared at her. You mean humans have been protecting the galaxy for 50 years, without telling anyone? We told the people we helped, but we asked them not to spread it around. We thought it was better if people didn't know. Why? Because the moment people know you're their protector, they start expecting you to solve all their problems. And we can't be everywhere at once. Dr. Zethka realized something that changed everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. How? Many species have you helped? Captain Chun was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I've lost count. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. The humans had been the galaxy's secret guardians for decades. They had been answering distress calls and stopping wars and protecting innocent people, all without asking for recognition or reward. But why keep it secret? Dr. Morta asked. Captain Chun's answer was simple and honest. Because the moment you start doing good things for praise, you stop doing them for the right reasons. Dr. Zethka looked at this wounded human woman who had just lost her ship and most of her crew to save people she had never met. He thought about all the other humans who had done the same thing over the past 50 years. And he made a decision. That would change the course of galactic history. Captain Chun, he said, I think it is time for the galaxy to know the truth. 6 months later, Dr. Zethka stood before the Galactic Council in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime. Representatives from 300 species filled the enormous hall, their voices creating a sound like ocean waves. He had never been so nervous. In his life, in his hands, he held the data crystal that would change everything. It contained not just the evidence against the hegemony, but also complete records of human rescue operations across the galaxy. 50 years of secret heroism was about to become public knowledge. The Council recognizes Dr. Zethka of the Corallian Research Institute, announced the speaker, an ancient being whose species was so old they had forgotten their own name. Zethka walked to the center of the chamber. Above him, a holographic display activated. The first image showed the Harmony's song surrounded by hegemony warships. 6 months ago, he began, my research team discovered evidence that the hegemony had been lying about their territorial claims. When we tried to bring this information to the Council, they attacked us. Murmurs filled the chamber. Everyone had heard about the hegemony's recent troubles, but few knew the whole story. We sent a distress call to every civilized world in the galaxy, Zethka continued. Every species we contacted was too afraid or too far away to help. Every species except one. The holographic display changed to show the retribution dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The humans came. One ship against 12 hegemony dreadnoughts. They fought not for territory or resources or politics. They fought because we asked for help. The chamber grew quiet. On the display, they could see the battle in all its terrible glory. The retribution dancing between enemy ships, taking damage, fighting back with weapons that tore through hegemony hulls like paper. The human ship was destroyed, Zethka said. 157 humans died to save my research team. They sacrificed themselves for strangers they had never met. A representative from the Tarathi delegation stood up. Ambassador Kreenal was an old politician who had seen many wars. Dr. Zethka, while we honor the human sacrifice, one rescue mission does not. It was not one mission, Zethka interrupted, and his voice carried across the chamber. It was hundreds. The holographic display exploded with information. Data flowed like a waterfall, showing rescue after rescue, battle after battle, humans arriving wherever someone called for help. For 50 years, Zethka said, humans have been protecting this galaxy. They have answered every distress call they could reach. They have stopped wars, saved colonies, and fought off pirates and slavers and worse things. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted questions in dozens of languages. Some sounded angry, others sounded amazed. All sounded shocked. Ambassador Kreenal was staring at the display with wide eyes. The Tarathi colony ships. The ghost fleet that saved us from pirates 10 years ago. Human ships, Zethka confirmed. Captain Chun told me they asked you not to report it. On the display, more evidence appeared. The Velan Civil War, stopped by mysterious peacekeepers who appeared just when the fighting was about to become genocide. The Akari mining stations, defended from hegemony raiders by ships that refused to identify themselves. The Zephyrian refugee fleet, escorted to safety by vessels that vanished as soon as the danger was past. All of them were human operations. They never asked for payment, Zethka said. They never demanded territory or resources. They helped because help was needed. And they asked the people they saved to keep quiet about it. A new voice spoke from the human delegation section. Admiral Hayes stood up slowly. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands. Dr. Zethka speaks the truth. For 50 years, we have been responding to distress calls across the galaxy. Why? Demanded Ambassador Kreenal. Why hide this? Why not tell us what you were doing? Admiral Hayes looked around the chamber before answering. Because the moment you start protecting people for recognition, you stop protecting them for the right reasons. We didn't want thanks or rewards. We just wanted to help. But surely you expected something in return, said another representative. We expected nothing, Hayes replied. We received everything that mattered. We received the knowledge that innocent people were safe. The speaker called for order as the chamber erupted again. Admiral Hayes, the Council requires an explanation. How many species have you assisted without authorization? Without authorization? Hayes repeated, and his voice grew hard. Since when do we need authorization to help people in danger? The Galactic Council is responsible for peacekeeping operations. The Galactic Council talks while people die. Hayes interrupted. We've seen your peacekeeping. You form committees and hold meetings and write reports while civilians get slaughtered. Dr. Zethka stepped forward before the argument could get worse. With respect, Speaker, the humans did what the Council could not or would not do. They protected the innocent. On the display, the evidence continued to flow. Hundreds of operations. Thousands of lives saved. Entire species that might have been wiped out if not for human intervention. There is more, Zethka said. The data shows that human protection has had unexpected effects. Species that were helped by humans became more likely to help others in turn. The humans did not just save lives, they taught others to save lives. This was true. The record showed a clear pattern. After humans rescued a species or stopped a war, that region of space became more peaceful. Former enemies started talking instead of fighting. Trade increased. Pirates found their targets defended. By unexpected allies, the humans had not just been protecting the galaxy. They had been teaching it to protect itself. "Why are we learning this now?" asked the speaker. "Why reveal this secret after 50 years? Dr. Zethka looked at Admiral Hayes, who nodded slightly. "Because the galaxy needs to understand something. The hegemony was not just attacking my research team. They were attacking the idea that people should help each other. They represent everything that is wrong with how we treat each other among the stars. And the humans represent something different," added Captain Chin's voice. She had recovered from her injuries and was now part of the human delegation. "We represent the idea that civilization means protecting those who cannot protect themselves." The chamber fell silent. On the display, the final piece of evidence appeared. It was a list of species that had been completely destroyed by various threats over the past 50 years. Next to it was another list of species that had been saved by human intervention. The second list was 10 times longer than the first. "Galaxy has a choice," Dr. Zethka said. "We can continue to ignore each other's suffering. We can let the strong prey on the weak. We can pretend that peace will come by itself if we just avoid making waves." He paused and looked around the chamber. "Or we can learn from the humans. We can decide that when someone calls for help, someone will answer. We can choose to be a civilization that protects its members instead of abandoning them." "Ambassador." Kreenel stood up again. "Dr. Zethka, are you suggesting that we formalize these human protection operations?" "I am suggesting something bigger than that," Zethka replied. "I am suggesting that we all become protectors. That every species takes responsibility for helping others. That we create a galaxy where no one has to die alone and afraid while others look away." The chamber was completely quiet now. Every representative was thinking about the same thing. For 50 years, they had been living in a galaxy protected by a species they barely knew. A species that asked for nothing and gave everything. Admiral Hayes spoke into the silence. "We didn't ask to be your guardians. We never wanted that responsibility, but we couldn't ignore people who needed help. If you want to take that burden from us, if you want to share it among all civilized species, then we'll teach you everything. We know. And if we refuse?" asked someone from the back of the chamber. Captain Chin answered, and her voice was calm but final. "Then we'll keep doing what we've always done. We'll answer the calls for help. We'll protect the innocent. We'll fight the predators, because someone has to." Dr. Zethka smiled. "But it would be better if we all did it together." The vote was not even close. 300 species decided to create the Galactic Protection Fleet. They would share the responsibility of answering distress calls and protecting the innocent. The humans would train them, guide them, show them how to be guardians instead of just observers. The hegemony, meanwhile, fell apart completely. Species abandoned the alliance once they learned the truth about human protection. War crimes tribunals began immediately. Admiral Vasquet, captured after his flagship was destroyed, would spend the rest of his life in prison. But the most important change was not political, it was personal. Across the galaxy, species that had been afraid to help others began to find courage. The human example had shown them that strength used to protect others was noble. That answering calls for help was not weakness, but the highest form of civilization. Dr. Zethka returned to his laboratory 6 months later, but his life had changed forever. He was now the Corallian representative to the new protection fleet. His species, peaceful for thousands of years, had begun training their first generation of guardians. He often thought about that day when the Harmony's song had sent out its desperate SOS. They had hoped for rescue. Instead, they had found